Hey Dad, guess what?
Do I actually guess, or should I? Is that kind of a rhetorical guess one?
Go ahead, guess.
We're back recording. We're
You're
back.
right.
We're back
Yep,
in the recording
you're right.
studio.
Wow, you had any answer in the world and you guessed it right.
We're on the same
I
wavelength.
think that
That's
just
what makes
shows
us great.
we must be related. There's some synergy.
Well, no,
Or
we are
or
related,
yeah, related and we're hosts. So there's double synergy.
right?
We're back.
Feels good to be back.
It feels great. Like I was just setting up the equipment right now and I was like, is everything plugged in? Like maybe I missed something cuz let's be real, it's been a minute.
Yeah, and I know you feel the same way, but I'll express it. I really like doing the podcast with you. It's one of the highlights of my week.
I I appreciate that and I echo that statement. And I feel bad that it's been so long since we've done an episode because I know how much we enjoy doing this. But it's with good reason.
Yeah,
There has been a lot going on in the last few months. My injury lasted a bit longer than expected, so that took up time. Neighborhood Sports Club has been taking off and progressing. Our YouTube audience, you see the tee. This is the Oakland tee, available online soon. Oh, yep. Pops is showing the back. Okay.
a lot of back.
That was a
Yeah,
lot of your butt.
it's hard for me to get that
Yeah,
low.
yeah, it's okay.
It's a good T-shirt though.
So Marathon Minute has been taken off. I mean, yes, Marathon Minute has been taken off, but Neighborhood Sports Club has been taken off. A lot of other things have been happening, but we are making a commitment now to be more regular with the podcast, dedicate more time to it, because like you said, we do enjoy it. I'll be very honest and transparent. The last few months have been very difficult. This injury has not been easy. There's been a lot of work going on with Neighborhood Sports Club, and there's been ups and downs for me mentally. And sometimes I feel like it's hard for me to podcast when I'm going through it a little bit mentally because it's like I feel like I need to get up for these,
Right.
And so I think coming to terms with, like you said, we enjoy doing this. This is a positive thing. And I shouldn't look at it of like, oh, I need to get up for it, but I should come as I am and, let the people hear me out no matter what's going on.
Yeah, but full disclosure, while our Marathon Minute podcast is a partnership between the two of us, it's not an equal partnership. You do 95% of the work, and I show up and ask my questions and do these intros. But it's a lot of work. It For those of you who have never done a podcast, which probably is most of our listeners, it's a lot of work lining
Yeah.
up the guests. Scheduling,
It,
editing. It's a lot of work.
it is a lot of work. And this is something that I'm working on is the ability to delegate. And so we did have a brief intern for a while. Shout out Maya. But hey, maybe we open up the intern search again. If you're listening, want to get involved, help out. I mean, really great experience. Networking opportunities can be provided. Hit my line. We could talk. But also in the news of Marathon Minute, we do have a restock of our t-shirts coming, a bit different material, but same vintage black. And instead of a pure white, this is kind of an off-white, but high quality as always. I'll be restocking that hopefully to the store in the next couple weeks. If you want to pre-order it and get ahead in line, just hit me in the DMs or however, some way, and I'll save you one. But yeah, that's exciting. And hopefully we'll get some more pods coming out in the next few weeks. And like you said, because we like doing this.
Yeah, and it's cool when I'm introduced to someone at these Roots games,
Yeah.
and they say, "Oh, I know, I've met you." I go, "Where have we met?" You go, "Well, I watched the podcast."
Yeah.
So that's kind of jazzy for me. I like that.
That is very jazzy. We appreciate that. And yeah, every time I hear that, it makes me motivated to do more of these. And we'll get into more of kind of what's been going on the last few months, both all the exciting stuff and all the real stuff. Just update you guys on kind of what's been going on. But let's try and keep this a little bit brief. We
Yeah.
do have an unbelievable episode coming at you, though. It's worth the wait. We have Chris Hegardt in the
Yep.
building, Charlotte FC midfielder, also friend of the show. I went to college and was roommates with Chris's older brother, Jared. Shout out Jared and the Haggart family. But I met Chris when he was, I mean, we talk about a lot of this stuff in the pod, so we'll keep it brief. But met him when he was like 12,
Yep.
and he was just like the fun little brother running around. He was a baller soccer player. Jared talked about him being a prodigy, and he's overcome a lot. He overcame a battle with cancer, a very rare form of cancer, and ended up beating it. We'll talk about all this stuff in the podcast, but just to kind of give you a bird's eye view of Chris, was a soccer prodigy, beat cancer at a young age, and continued this trajectory of playing in the Sounders Academy, going to Georgetown, and then leaving school early to play in the MLS for Charlotte FC. We talked about his first year in MLS experience, his ambitions, kind of what it's like being in an MLS organization and kind of going up between USL League One and MLS. I mean, he just played against Chelsea the other day.
Yep.
A lot of funny stories. Great episode.
We talk about the decision for him to leave college early,
Yes.
a big major decision. And I'll tell you what was most fun for me during that podcast. Well, there were two things.
Yeah.
Number one, I think I met Chris at about the same time you did, when he was just a little kid.
Yeah.
And you hear a lot about, oh, this kid is really good for his age.
Yeah.
You know, he's one of the top players. And 99 out of 100 of those kids disappear off the radar, right?
Yeah.
And he's the one out of 100 who did not disappear from the radar. He actually lived up to the expectations of him, which were really high. The second fun thing for me, frankly, was him talking about when he played against you.
That was a highlight.
Because you guys have played against each other, and it's a funny story, too.
Yeah, we played against each other multiple times, and Chris does tell a funny story about apparently me talking some crap in his first pro start, but you know, I was trying to prepare him for the big leagues because I saw such a bright future in him. I think that's what we concluded.
You're going with that?
That's what we concluded. Okay. Yes.
Okay.
It was all love, always.
And he's a great guest. He's a great kid.
Yeah.
And really upbeat, and has a really good story to tell.
Yeah, great guest with a great story and a super bright future. It's awesome because he's only like 20 years old.
20.
And so it'll be really exciting to follow Chris as he continues on his career and continues to lean into his story and inspire a lot of people. Because if you listen to this conversation, I am sure that you will be inspired with his story.
Yeah. And again, and to probably wrap up, but what was unique for us, both of us, is that we've seen Chris's trajectory from being a 10, 11, 12-year-old to him making a Major League Soccer team. And we virtually have seen almost his entire trajectory. Yeah. Usually we meet people kind of at the end of their trajectory. Yeah. We caught him at the beginning. Now he's probably at the middle.
Yeah.
And that's sort of unique.
Let's say he's at the beginning. I mean, we see the talent and the dedication he talks about. I mean, you listen to, I don't want to have this go on too long, but the way he spoke about his career was so mature. Yep. I mean, just the way he talks about controlling the controllables and, you know, different decisions on roster and picking where to go and all this stuff. Like, the guy is 20 years old, but sounds like he's got years of experience, and that's given his kind of resume of how he's got to where he's gotten. But let's let our guests find out for themselves. Marathon Minute boys are back.
We're back.
Feels good.
Back with a great guest.
Chris Hegardt, coming to you live.
Marathon Minute.
Let's go.
Hold on, let me fix my hair. Sorry, I was just at dinner.
All right, yeah, let's get this going. Our guy Chris has a game tomorrow, but we got Charlotte FC midfielder Chris Hegardt in the building. We were just talking off air how Chris has a game tomorrow. But Chris, you are a friend of the show. I went to college with Chris's older brother Jared. Do you remember how old you were when I met you, or was that 13?
Yeah,
I think that's off. Is that right?
Yeah, it was probably like 13, maybe 12, 11. I was young because
you were definitely a little shit, but I don't know exactly what age you were. But no, this is but in the best way possible. Like, you had a lot of charisma. You were super young, but like you were still like giving us crap. Like, we were college kids and you were like trying to meg us. You were talking shit. Like, you definitely weren't like a timid little kid. And now to have you on the pod, this is just full circle, and we appreciate you making the time for us. And we really want to highlight your story because I remember in college, you know, hearing about your story at the time. It was incredible to hear about, you know, things that you had overcome and what you were doing even at that young age, whether it was like 11, 12, 13. And now to see your rookie year in MLS and doing what you're doing. You just played a game against Chelsea recently, which we'll get into later, but like, it's just super cool to see where you are now. And we want to highlight you, bro. Like, it's just really cool to see how far you've come. And we're excited to see where you'll grow and how you'll continue to progress in your career. But let's take it back. Like with our guests, we kind of like to take it back, start with their origin story. So let's talk a little bit about, I mean, I know a lot of this info because, we're homies, but for our worldwide audience, apologize for the dog in the background. That's Penny. Shout out Penny. Just tell the audience a little bit, where you're from, where you grew up, and maybe a little bit about when you remember you were introduced to soccer. That could be a good segue into kind of the rest of your story.
Yeah, I mean, so I grew up in like San Diego, California. I was the youngest of 4 kids. So, you know how that is. Like I grew up always the little one, always having to keep up with older siblings. And I think I just kind of fell in love with soccer because all my siblings played. Shout out 2 of my siblings, D1 soccer players. And then the other one played soccer all the way through until she was a doctor. So, yeah. And also my parents played. So, they were always teaching me and showing me the way. So I think from the day I was born, I was just always kind of surrounded by like soccer. And that was a culture I lived by, supporting Arsenal from the day I was born. So I've kind of just always been around it, and that's all I really know. And to this day, I'm still the same person, So yeah.
One of the questions that we ask our guests is like, when you were a kid, I mean, you're only how old are you? 19?
20. Yeah, just turned 20 or so.
20. Happy belated.
No, I didn't just turn like a few months ago, but yeah,
we can still celebrate,
Yeah.
Better late than never. But, something we like to ask our guests is like, when they were younger, how did they answer the, what did you want to be when you grow up question? For me, at a young age, I think you can attest that at a young age, I identified I want to be a professional soccer player. I also said I want to be a CEO, but the first thing was I want to be a professional soccer player. Did you kind of have that at an early age? I mean, I have a feeling the answer is yes, but was there any other idea of like, I love soccer, but like, it'd be cool to be an astronaut or a doctor? Or was it just like you were hyper focused on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think, like I said, like I'm pretty different than like kids my age when I was little. Like when I was a little kid, most kids kind of just don't really know what they want. And like, yeah, you want to be a banker or a flight attendant, like all these like crazy things. But I think from the day I was in kindergarten, when the teacher said, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" I wrote a professional soccer player, just because, like I told you, like that's what I knew. That's what I was surrounded by. That's what I love. So it's from the first day, I've been eat, breathe, sleep soccer. So.
Yeah, I mean, it probably helped that you had older siblings already playing, so it kind of like maybe opened the door of like, oh, that could be, a possible career. Especially, I mean, Jared was a baller when he was younger too. So like, to see Jared balling, you're like, damn, like if my brother can do it, then so could I.
Exactly.
Jared is your older brother who played at Santa Clara. We may get in on that, but he's Max's age, so he's like 8 years older than you, right? So
so he's the oldest sibling, and I'm the youngest. So. A little bit of an age difference, like I think 8 or 7 years. So,
but also at the same time, I remember Jared telling us, like when you were, I mean, you know this better than me, obviously, but at a certain age, you were definitely recognized as one of the best players in the country when you were very young. I even read in an article, we did our research. Don't worry, I read in an article that a scout even dubbed you the best player in the country at your age. I think when you were like 7 or something. And I remember Jared being like, oh, like, he may be going to this club overseas or that club overseas. Do you remember when you were at I don't know, 6, 7, 8, at that younger age when you were excelling, did you realize like, oh, I am a lot better than these kids? Or did you have any idea of like the possibility of moving to a European academy? What was going through your head at that time, if you remember?
Yeah, I mean, I was so young, like you said. I mean, I just remember that in San Diego, I mean, I was playing for Surf, right? And my team had so many good players, and we were winning like every tournament there was, like Surf Cup, National Cup, State Cup, like all those tournaments. And
Now, at what age? What age are you talking about here?
yeah, I'm talking like we could see there's like contradiction because I was good before and then I got sick and then so there's two different stories.
We'll get into kind of after, but you were definitely even before, because before you were like, there was talks about you potentially like going to academies overseas, right?
Yeah, I would say that was more after I got sick.
Okay.
But before that, to be fair, I was playing in like a smaller town outside San Diego. And when I was like 7, a coach came to my dad and was like, "Hey, like we need Chris to move to San Diego to basically play for my team." And he kind of convinced my dad to drive me like 35 minutes to practice every day. So that's kind of the first steps of like going to a bigger club to kind of like start my career a bit when I was like 8 or 9 or 8. Yeah, a little 8. So those were kind of the first steps. And then, like you said, I got sick. And then from there, other things happened. Yeah.
And so you mentioned when you got sick, and I think, I want to talk a little bit about kind of all of the scope of what happened around this. And I don't know if you are tired of talking about it. Like, I'm sure as you've kind of now gotten into the professional game and the story has kind of grown. I mean, I know they did like an E60 about it back in the day. I remember watching that in college. And I don't want you to feel like you're like repeating yourself, but I also want you to recognize, as much as you maybe feel like, oh, like I'm telling the story over and over, like it makes a huge impact, because every time that a new person might hear it, like it has like a ripple effect of like the possibilities. Even if you were young and like maybe like you don't think it was that big of a deal, like there might be a parent out there or a kid who like had some sort of similar experience, and like your story can completely like change the way that they think about things and inspire them that they can overcome something too. So I really do want to like highlight this as, something really powerful and impactful. So, you mentioned that you got sick. I have kind of a play-by-play from my research of the incident, and I can let you talk about it a little bit, but essentially you're playing in a tournament, a ball hits you in the stomach, and it hurt, and it hurt a little bit more than it should have. And I mean, maybe I should let you tell the story.
Yeah, I can.
I'm telling you how what happened, but yeah, maybe I'll let you tell the story and we can kind of jump in. And
I mean, I could give you a kind of 25-second, but basically I was playing, right? It's another Saturday youth tournament. And then the ball kind of hit my stomach, like when you get the wind knocked out of you, that's what it felt like. I was just like, okay, I'll be good in a second. Right. And then basically 5 minutes go by and I'm like, still like can't catch my breath. And actually one of the dads on the team was a doctor, and he was like, just go to the ER, get it checked out, like make sure nothing happened, like maybe hit some like organ or something. And so I went to the hospital, and basically right when I got there, like all of a sudden.
Wait, I'm gonna jump in at times throughout this. So
hop in whenever.
Okay, thank you. So at this time, do you remember like what you were thinking in terms of like, were you worried at all, or were you just like, oh, this is whatever, like I'll go get it checked out? And
I mean, I was starting to get a bit worried because like I couldn't catch my breath, so I've never felt anything like that, so it was a bit like concerning to me. I was like, this doesn't feel right. And I was the player that would never come out of the game no matter what, and I had to come out, like I couldn't breathe, so like that's when I was a bit worried.
Yeah.
And for our listeners, you're 7 or 8 years old.
Yeah. So I'm a kid, like 7 or 8, tiny kid. Yeah.
Okay. Crazy. So a teammate's dad said you should go to the ER. Your dad's taking you to the ER, and then you could pick it up from there.
Yeah. So get there, they do like a scan, I think they did a CT scan. And the next thing you know, like
I did an X-ray and a CT scan. I just for my research.
Okay, X-ray too, maybe. Because those are the quick scans. They can get that quick.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And then the next thing I know, there's 10 doctors around me. So I'm like, holy shit, like this is not good, like this may not be good. the next thing I know, I'm at a local hospital and I'm in an ambulance going to Children's Hospital San Diego. So like, this is not good. And basically what they found out is that the soccer ball hit my liver, but my liver had a bunch of tumors on it. So when the ball hit the liver, the tumor started bleeding. So like there was internally bleeding inside my stomach. So the reason I couldn't breathe is because there was a bunch of blood coming into my stomach. And basically from there on, I did like, I think 4 or 5 months of chemotherapy, and then just to kill off the cancer cells. And then,
You
I got
diagnosed with liver cancer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're gonna rewind.
Sorry. Maybe.
So I have the scientific terminology here. So doctors suspected you had hepatocellular carcinoma. Pardon me if I didn't pronounce that correctly. And it's a cancer that's more commonly found in adults. And apparently there's only 10 children a year diagnosed. So extremely rare. Do you remember hearing, a lot, the cancer word is quite a like shock. Like, I mean, it's one of the scarier words that you can hear. Do you remember when a doctor said like, hey, you have liver cancer? Do you remember hearing that? Or like, do you remember?
Yeah, this is actually a question that's been brought up to me a lot, like in interviews this year. But to be fair, like, no, I wasn't too scared, because at that age, I'm 7 years old, 8 years old. And at that point in my life, like, I don't know the effects of cancer. I don't know what it does to people. I don't know like what the survival rate is. So at that point, I was more just like, okay, like, what do I need to do to get back on the field? So at that point, I wasn't really scared, but I think that contributed to how I recovered so well, because my mindset was like so positive, and never at one point was I thinking, oh, this could be the end, or, oh, I'm going to lose. So I think that mindset throughout, which not really know what cancer is, helped me like get through it quicker, and kind of helped my body and my mind. So yeah.
Did you undergo a liver transplant, Chris?
What'd you say?
I have that in my notes here, Dad. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Max, did Chris have a liver transplant?
Well, no, this is actually crazy. So, you needed a liver transplant, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I'll tell a little bit of this story, because I just really dialed down with my research. So, Chris needed a liver transplant, and your dad, Ron, what a guy, Ron Hegardt, shout out Ron.
Hey, Ron.
Ron volunteered to give up half of his liver for Chris. And that's a risky procedure for Ron. But what a guy. The guy said, my son needs it. I'm going to give up half my liver. And then this is the crazy thing. The same day that Chris was supposed to get half of Ron's liver, like at 2 a.m. of that morning of the day that he was supposed to do the transplant, there was a fatal motorcycle accident. A 17-year-old kid passed away, and the parents donated his organs. And there was one patient ahead of you, Chris, but they decided to split the organ, and you each got half, and it worked, right?
Yeah, it's a crazy story. It's a crazy story, but shout out being an organ donor if you can on your ID in case anything happens. But yeah,
seriously,
I think that was a crazy story that kind of blessed me. Like, so it's very like, you have to have the same blood type as the person that would be the donor. And I think my dad was the only one in the family that matched me. So he volunteered, and the liver, for people that don't know, like, grows back fully. So if you cut it in half, it'll grow back. So my dad was going to give me his right lobe of his liver, and then ultimately it would grow back. But, like, you never know what happens when you go into surgery and people are cutting you open. So, I mean, I can't thank my dad enough for even, volunteering to do that. But yeah, I got blessed in the middle of the night with that organ donor that gave me his liver, and the rest is
morning of the day. Like, that's just, I feel like that's just.
Yeah. So I checked into Children's Hospital LA, and my dad checked into USC Hospital in LA, and basically said bye. Like, they're ready to do surgeries. I go to bed, and my mom wakes me up at like 4 a.m. before the surgery, and she's like, "Dad's not giving me the liver anymore. Like, they found someone else," which is like crazy. Like, it's just crazy how the world works sometimes. But
that is crazy. Right. Wait, were you going to give up part of your liver, or was that another organ?
Kidney. I was going to be a kidney donor for my brother.
Damn. Okay. Right on.
Yeah.
That's
You have
awesome.
two kidneys.
But the kidneys don't grow back,
don't
though,
grow
no?
back.
They don't grow back, but you have two kidneys and you only need one.
To survive. Yeah.
So you can give up a kidney.
Jeez.
Okay.
I mean,
That's awesome.
Yeah.
both you guys.
So if you need a kidney, Chris, let me know.
Yeah. we got a couple here. We each got a pair.
Yeah, that's
My
awesome.
kidney, Chris.
Oh my God. So you got the liver transplant, but then you still had to go through chemo, right?
Yeah, no. So I got chemo before the transplant. So I did 3 rounds of chemo, right? So for anyone that doesn't know, chemo, like you're taking doses, and then the next thing you know, you're throwing up for like 12 hours straight. It's like probably the worst thing I've experienced. And so I had to do 3 rounds of that to basically just kill off the cancer cells in my body so that they could like basically isolate the tumor on the liver to just take it out. So yeah.
Wow. And how well do you remember that experience?
I actually do remember that well because I would always, for some reason, I would always want sushi the night when I checked in for chemo. I would always ask my mom to give me sushi. It was really weird.
Just know that you're about to Ralph it up. Like,
yeah. So I'd be like, dang, mom, I'm so hungry. She's like, no, like you're about to get chemo. Like you're going to get nauseous. And I'm like, mom, I need it. I'm so hungry. And then next thing I know, mom, I need the bowl. It's coming out.
Yeah.
So,
oh my God.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Wow.
But
Jeez.
God bless the chemo.
Yeah. Jeez. I mean, obviously, I feel like, this experience, you overcame a lot, and I'm sure a lot of that kind of has shaped who you are.
Yeah.
But through this, you got to kind of experience a couple. I'm not saying I'm looking for like a silver lining here. You got to spend the day with Messi.
Yeah.
Like that's pretty damn unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's pretty damn unbelievable. I mean, I feel like we just got to get a little bit of like how much you remember about that day. Like this was Messi in his prime, right?
This is Messi in his prime. I think Champions League winner year versus Juventus that year.
And that was part of the Make-A-Wish Foundation program, correct?
Yeah, they took part of Make-A-Wish. They took me and my family to Barcelona for a week. Met Messi, saw a Barca game.
Wait, did Jerry get to go?
No, because he was with Sarah with you.
Wait, this was when he was with us? Oh my God. I think I remember that.
So he couldn't go.
We probably had to have given him so much shit. Like, oh my God, your whole family is with Messi in Barcelona right now, and he is with us. Oh my
Crazy,
God.
Huh? Jared running sprints at Santa Clara.
He got the bad end of that deal.
Oh my God.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, well, what do you remember about that trip?
I just remember meeting Messi kind of, and I mean, they were like, oh, he's gonna spend like 30 minutes with you, and I was like, okay, it's Messi, like he'll make 30 minutes for me, like cool. But he spent like 2.5 hours, 3 hours. Like he was such a nice guy, and like you should see, like he's the best soccer player in the world, but like you could tell like he was shy to even like meet us kids. Like that's just the type of person he is. Like he was so humble and like shy. It's like, dude, like we look up to you, like, and like he was almost like shy of us. And I think it just speaks the volume of him. Like he's a really nice guy, and he signed everything, talked to us for like 2-3 hours. And there was like a few other kids I came to. But yeah,
and then able to kick the ball around with him a little bit.
Yeah, kick the ball around. Like they brought us out to their training field, like the one at La Masia. So like we got to kick the ball around with him, talk to him, and he was just such a nice guy. Like I didn't know what to expect, but he is like a great guy. And talked to him, signed stuff, got a tour at La Masia. It was a great day.
Nice.
Great day. Yeah, I know. I have pictures, and I still in my room back home have like a autographed jersey of him with like a picture of me with him.
I remember seeing that.
Yeah,
I almost took it when I visited the house, but
stuck it in your backpack.
I figured you'd notice.
Maybe Chris won't notice it's gone.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Put up a substitute jersey.
Yeah. Put up my Santa jersey.
A fake one.
So once you got the transplant, you were kind of on the mend, getting back healthy. You started playing soccer again. Did you have any kind of fear of like, oh, I'm not gonna be the player that I was before, or were you still so young where you were just like, I mean, obviously, I think you were probably so happy to just be out there. But like, was there any part of your mind or thinking of like, oh dang, like this might affect my dream of becoming a pro, or was it still just like, oh, I'm back, like I'll get there eventually?
That's a good point. I think I was more just excited to be back out on the field and just play soccer again, right? Like when all you do is play soccer and then for 6 or 7 to 8 months, like you can't play. I mean, it just makes you more grateful to be back on the field, And at that point, like I wasn't really like stressing about like going pro or, I think it was more just like happiness and joy to just be back on the field and playing with my teammates and
you're a normal kid again, right?
Yeah, just being a kid again and being able to do kid things. Yeah. And I don't think people realize this, but it was 2 months, I think, after my transplant that I could play soccer again. Like it was very quick. Like, and they did a 12-hour surgery 2 months before. And literally 2 months later, I'm back playing soccer because the recovery was so quick. And I mean, obviously, like I said, like I was still bald. I was still frail. Like my bones were like probably this big. And, but I mean, I was being a kid again. And 5 months later, my team won the state championship and I scored both goals in the final and was player of the tournament.
Wow. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go.
So, so it was cool.
Now, ESPN, and Max mentioned this earlier, but ESPN did a story on you, right? That nationally broadcast story.
Yeah, they did. So basically they did a story. Somebody like heard about my story and then they started shooting this documentary on my story about me, playing soccer again and be back out on the field. And then when they were filming it, like that month, we won the state championship and I scored the 2 winning goals, like I told you guys. So it just made the story like a lot better. Like, basically like, from almost like having the hospital experiences to all this stuff to basically winning the state championship 6 months later. So it was through E60. And it was a really, really good story. And then shout out here, nobody really knows this yet, but ESPN's actually doing another story on me that should be coming out soon.
Let's go.
All right.
About my journey to the MLS, like a kind of like a remake from the first one 8 years ago. So actually, this is the first time publicly I've said anything. But
we got more breaking news on Marathon Minute.
I don't know if that's like
break news. Let's go. It's okay. No, it's okay.
Yeah. Well, we have a worldwide audience, so
I mean, I don't know if it's official or they're just thinking about it, but there could be a feature on ESPN coming out on Chris. So.
Chris, I've got brothers and sisters like you. I've got 5 in my family. You've got 4.
Yeah.
I know a couple of your siblings. While you're going through all this, getting all this attention, obviously you're getting a lot of sympathy and a lot of, your brothers and sisters probably were nice to you for a couple of weeks while you're going through this. But when you recover and you're getting all this attention and you're being filmed by the ESPN crew and interviewed by this and that, were they giving you a hard time? Were they jealous? Were they, kind of, well, why is Chris getting all the attention? This is not cool at all.
No, I think they're just enjoying it. But yeah, of course, with your siblings.
I know your brother. Come on.
They always give you a little slack,
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, they were cool with it. But I think they enjoyed, being in the film a bit. But
oh yeah,
I had to give them a little screen time. But
yeah,
I'm joking. They were all they were all part of the journey too. So they deserve it. But yeah, no, I'm grateful for them. So yeah.
Okay, so once you got healthy again, let's kind of get back to your journey.
Yeah.
We can kind of talk to a little bit more about kind of recent years.
Yeah. That's what I like to talk about, huh? No, like you said though, like these past few months, it's been like so much about like this stuff. But like you said, like if it's gonna inspire somebody, then of course I want to talk about it. But I'm not gonna be the one to like talk about it out of nowhere. But if you come to me and want to talk about it, then of course, So.
Yeah, I mean, I think when I was kind of very early on in my career, and not to say that I have overcome anything near what you have, but like I didn't really feel like I had any sort of story to share. And then one of the reasons why, we started the podcast was not just because I wanted to share other people's stories and talk about all these, different things with soccer and fashion and business and all that, but like I had come to a point where I was comfortable enough with my story where it's like, if this inspires one person or two people, 3 people, like that's a success. That's a win.
Yeah.
And so I feel like for you to identify that, at your age, you can really have a huge impact, just not just for anyone who's like dealing with medical issues, but just like overcoming adversity and reaching your goal. Like that's something where you can really touch a lot of lives. So I mean, I think the fact that you're kind of leaning into that is great, and you can really have a huge impact. So I credit you for that.
Yeah, no, I mean, like you said, you hit it spot on. Just like,
hey, Chris, before we move on, and we will move on, but just one last kind of comment or question.
Yeah.
The worst thing that happened to you may have turned out, and maybe I'm wrong about this, but it may have turned out to be a blessing in disguise. You're getting whacked in the stomach with a ball, and you having these symptoms that led you to go to the hospital where you were diagnosed. Had you not been, kicked in and hit your stomach, which is kind of an unusual place, frankly, to get hit by a soccer ball. Had you not been kicked in the stomach, who knows, right? You've got these tumors on your liver, right? They're not going away. It was what allowed you to ultimately get diagnosed with a really serious problem.
Exactly. You're spot on. I mean, it could have saved my life. I mean, we'll never know, but it's honestly kind of scary, sometimes like you'll never know, but like God has a plan, I guess. So he had the plan to have the ball hit me in the stomach. So that's what happened.
Yeah. It worked out.
Yeah.
Okay.
It worked
So
out.
let's get a little bit into kind of more recent years.
Go on.
We can kind of skip ahead to you. I guess let's skip ahead to you joining the Sounders Academy.
Okay.
I remember, there was a possibility of you potentially joining the Timbers, right? I think I remember.
Yeah, it was I think when I was playing in San Diego, I was Timbers, RSL, and Sounders. Those were kind of like the three academies that I was looking at going, just because I wanted to stay on the West Coast, just kind of at a young age too. So
right. And so what made you end up at the Sounders Academy, and
at what age were you? I'm curious.
Yeah. So I think the Sounders just came to me with a plan. Like it was weird. Like they basically told me they wanted me after the DA season. I was just playing locally in San Diego for an academy. I'll be on over there. And they came to me and they're like, Chris, we want you. And they actually came to like San Diego to like meet with me. Like it was kind of crazy. Yeah. And then
are you 15, 16 years old?
Yeah. So I just finished my sophomore year in high school. So I was going into my junior year. So I would say I was 16. And so I met with one of like their scouts. They have a lot of MLS academies. They have scouts everywhere kind of. They were just like, hey, like just go train up there for a day. Just one of these days, just go up there for a day, see how you like it, like see how you fit in, and you make a decision. And I just went up there and I loved it. But to be fair, there was a lot of thoughts in my head. And I mean, it came down to, leaving my comfort zone and going to play up there. And I think that was the right decision for me. And, we can talk about that. But like,
were you thinking like, okay, where am I going to have the fastest route to pro?
Yeah.
Or had they mentioned like, hey, we see you kind of progressing through our system?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they gave me basically a development plan to get to the pro first team, second team system. And Sounders had a great reputation, with getting guys to the second team, first team with young players. And not a lot of clubs had that at the time. That's what, 4 years ago. Yeah. So that's really what got me there. Basically the people in charge there and their proof evidence of getting young guys to the professional ranks. So that's kind of what drew my attention to go to Seattle.
So right. You at 15, 16 years old, you're entering your junior year of high school. You've got to be willing to take up the Sounders offer, right? You've got to basically move from San Diego to Seattle or Tacoma and change high schools and
high schools.
I don't know who you live with, but it wasn't your parents.
Yeah.
That's kind of a big
exactly.
deal.
And like you said, it wasn't even for a professional offer. I still have to prove myself there to get to the professional rank. So it was even a bigger risk, to be fair, but I mean, one that I wanted to take on, and one that if you didn't take, you may regret in the future. So
100%. And then once you got into the system, how quickly did you progress into playing with I don't know if it was Tacoma right away or if it was
I think
S2 at the time and then
it might have been
Tacoma.
S2. Yeah.
Because we eventually had some battles against each other, but before we get into our matchups, like when did you then get into the second team, and what was that kind of transition like of like, oh shit, like I'm now playing with pros and against pros? What was that kind of transition and change in level like?
Yeah. I think so. Right when I got there, the first like month or two, so I joined like there's 16s and then the 18s academy, and I was joining the 16s academy. Like the first 2 months I got there, I wasn't even playing. I was like, I remember like calling my parents and being like, why the frick did I come here? Like, I'm not even playing. Like, this is, I moved away from home. Like, I was like, I remember the first 2 months, I would like sit in my room and almost like cry. Like, I'm living on my, like up here by myself. And like, why'd I do this? And that was just the stepping stone, like, it's like that. You're not just going to come in and play right away. Right. Right after that, start playing with the 16s. 4 months later, I'm training with the second team. Give it 2 months later, after that, almost after a year there, I start to play games with the second team. So, I'm getting like USL appearances. And then from there, I started doing well. And, with Sounders, sometimes they pull you up to train with the first team, even when you're in the academy. So I was training with the first team some days, training with S2 Tacoma. And then so basically after a year of being there, I was probably playing consistently with the second team. And then after that first year playing pro in the second team, I actually went to first team preseason when I was going into my senior year of high school. And then did really well at the first team preseason, went on both trips to LA and Mexico. Came back, scored my first USL goal in the start of the second season. And then COVID happened, and the rest is
history.
Kind of got screwed by COVID a bit. But
Chris, what's unusual about you as a guest? Well, there's a lot of unusual things, but we've had a number of guests who have been teammates of Max. You're on the Portland second team or the Roots. You're maybe one of just two or so of former opponents, guys who played against Max. You're playing for the Seattle's second team. Max is playing for the rival Portland second team, and you guys would play each other a couple times at least. So
I think how many times we played each other? 3?
I mean, 2? At least 3.
Yeah. So questions, Chris. And I want you to be really candid and honest. Okay. Do you have a distinct memory of playing against Max?
I actually do.
I want to know what was the scouting? I mean, your Wednesday meeting, you're talking about, we got Portland coming up this Saturday. What was the scouting report on Max? How do we deal with that? They're holding midfielder.
I actually probably could remember you're playing center back more though when we played you, I think.
Yeah, I was.
I do remember Max because I remember this was like, I think this was my first pro start and we're playing in Portland. And
I think it may have been.
Yeah, it was my first pro start.
Was Jared there?
I don't think. I think who was there? I think my grandma, my aunt. Jared didn't go. I think the flights were too expensive. I told him to, but he's like, aha. But I remember calling Jared after the game and I was like, dude, we were down 4-0 and I got kicked. And Max was talking shit to me. And I was like, bro, I was literally injured on the ground and they're winning 4-0. And Max was talking shit to me. I was like, that's crazy. Because that's the memory I have with Max. I think.
Okay. Was it Max who fouled you in the first place?
No.
I think I remember this incident. I think it was
Eric Williamson. He fouled me. He fouled me, and I
think you went down a bit dramatically. I think because I knew you, so I was like, oh come on, Chris, like you're better than that. You're like rolling around. I'm like, fucking hell, come on.
Maybe just stepped on my ankle like a little bit too hard, Get the frick up, Chris.
No, I didn't. No, I mean, I might have said that.
You were heated in the moment.
I was trying to prepare you. It's because I saw something in you. I knew you when you were 13 or 12, whatever.
Just trying to toughen me up a bit, huh?
Exactly. I saw the potential, and I wasn't gonna treat you differently just because, you know, you're my boy. I was,
Yeah.
if anything, I was going to try and push you that much harder because I saw
Yeah,
the future, you know, and now look
exactly.
at you. If I didn't talk shit to you when you were on the ground, who knows if you're in MLS right now? You know?
Exactly.
Probably not. I
think that might have been the moment where you're like, fuck, you know,
Yeah.
I really need to start. You know,
That was definitely a life-changing moment.
I've got to stop rolling on the ground and play soccer.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Hey, scouting report on Max though. You want it?
Oh my gosh. So now you're gonna
give it.
I think it was
Pacey,
right center back, leader, captain of the team. Were you captain at this point?
I don't think I was. I was a leader, but I don't think I had
maybe it was on. You scored a few in set pieces, I remember.
Yeah.
Good in the air, good on the ball. I'm trying to think.
We'll trash talk you.
Decent pings.
Yeah, can ping the ball, and then it was like maybe you could churn them. Maybe you could try churn them and get them.
Get too tight, maybe.
Yeah, maybe too tight.
Good to know.
Yeah, good to know. You could approve.
Yeah, exactly.
Things about Timbers too. When Max played up there, was they played in the big stadium. Large.
Exactly.
And wondering, you're young, you're playing for Seattle's second team. You come to Portland. You walk into a big stadium. Obviously, they didn't draw the big crowds. But what I've always wondered, what's it like to walk out and play in a big stadium setting like that?
Cool.
I mean, now he's playing in. He just played in front of 70,000 people.
I know that. I'm asking as a 15, 16, as a young guy.
Yeah, it was really cool. I like Portland Stadium is crazy nice. So I think like when I went out into that stadium, I was just like, dang, I can't even imagine this full. Like that'd be crazy. And I remember when we played Max, like there was a bunch of first team players playing, like Aspria, Williamson. Like I remember like they started like you guys started a lot of first team players.
A 4-0.
Yeah, I was like, damn, like all right, like me and my boy Alex is starting to like 17-year-olds first pro start, but hey, frick it, like let's do it. Like but yeah, no, that was, I think I'm honestly like that's kind of what helps players, get out of their comfort zone and like playing in stadiums like that. And
for sure.
I mean, I went from playing in an academy game in front of 30 people to playing in like that kind of stadium. So it's a bit different.
Like 30
people. Different, but it gets you right, gets you right.
Yeah. No, but I will say, I do remember playing against you, and it was very like full circle for me.
Yeah.
Because like, dude, it was like, I remember meeting you when you were like 3 feet tall. That little shit that was talking crap.
Little shit, huh? Like 4 years later, 5 years later.
Now you're like just a bigger little shit.
No.
No, but it was like, it was really cool for me. I was like, damn, this is a cool moment.
And I was at that game because we used to go to a lot of Max's games up in Portland. And I remember when you started that game, I kind of had that holy smoke moment where, because I knew your brother Jared and I knew your parents well from spending a lot of time with them at Santa Clara games. I always heard about Chris, and I met you. But I heard, Chris is this great young player. He's kind of a prodigy. He's being looked at by European academies. He's he's really terrific. If you think Jared's great, and Jared, your brother, was a great soccer player. Trust me, I was really blown away about how good he was. But I'm hearing about this younger brother who's got this trajectory that's really high. And you say to yourself, like, he's 12 or 13 years old, and you're projecting this guy to be playing professionally. That never happens. You hear those stories all the time, and they never come to fruition. And I'm watching you take the field for Seattle, and it came to fruition. All this talk about, this young prodigy actually turned out to be true. And I go, that doesn't happen. There's a lot of
it did.
So the talk, you talk the talk and you walk the walk. You walk the walk.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. I would say it was pretty cool. I mean, also like, I thought it was pretty cool because like, also I was playing Max in my first pro start. Like, it's kind of like a full start. Like, like you said, like, it doesn't really happen a lot when, you're playing somebody on the other team that you kind of grew up with, grow up with, but it's like kind of part of like the fam circle. But it was pretty cool just to be there.
It was a cool moment for all of us.
Yeah. And you were still like, you were probably like 22 at this time, 21.
I was probably like, no, I mean, bro, I didn't sign my first contract till I was 23. So I had
to. Yeah, but no, this was like your rookie year though.
Then I was probably 24.
24.
24. Yeah. But still, super dope moment for both of us.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, which make you 15 or 16, Chris.
Okay, let's progress a little bit.
Progress.
What was we can kind of go through this a little quicker. What was the thought process behind going to Georgetown versus was there any sort of possibility of going homegrown, or were you like, oh no, I want to go to college? I mean, I know they were like top team in the nation, so it made sense.
Yeah.
But what was that kind of internal debate like?
Yeah. Yeah, this is a very interesting story also, but I keep it short. But basically I committed to Georgetown like right when I got to Seattle, kind of just so I had like that. Basically, I wanted to go there, but it's like, okay, like let's see what happens with the pro opportunities. You never know, right? So and I was doing really well at Seattle and playing second team, training with the first team. Like there was a point where I trained with first team for like 5 months when I was like 16, like in my junior year. And like they were telling me like, oh, you're doing so good, this and that. And like I heard, and then I went to preseason, like I told you, the year of COVID, did really well. And like there were talks like, oh, there's gonna be a homegrown deal for you, right? Like when we get back, I score USL right when we get back, first game of the season. And basically like things just didn't work out the way I wanted them. I ended up getting offered a second team deal, and I just didn't feel like at the moment like that was the right opportunity for me, and you know, just that pathway. And I felt like there was times though where I wanted to sign the USL contract, right? Where you're like, this is the full circle moment when you sign professional, but it has to be at the right cost, like you said. And I remember like Jared giving me really good advice, my brother and my dad, and they're like, just be patient. You need to be patient. Like the right opportunity is going to come, but this may not be the right opportunity. And at times I regretted it. Like my first year, like when I left, like, oh, if I would have signed second team, like I could have been first team right now. Like I believe in myself. But always in the back of my mind, like I knew that God had a plan and that like the right opportunity come, and going to Georgetown, right? Like shout out Georgetown, the GOATs, the Hoyas. But yeah, no, I'm actually really glad I went to Georgetown, because like I have like 4 of my best friends from Georgetown that like I talk to every day, and just playing there for 2 years, the players are great. We beat Santa Clara, by the way. And and I went to a Elite 8 and Final 4 in 2 seasons there. And you know, played a lot and was surrounded by so many great teammates and great players that helped me get better, and the coaches were very good there. And so I mean, I had the opportunity to sign second team in Seattle, and I just felt like Georgetown was the right pathway to the step where I wanted to be is in the MLS, and I just trusted that plan, and Georgetown took care of me.
Did you ever feel, Chris, that obviously you're going from playing with all professionals and really elite players, and you go to elite soccer school, Georgetown, so I don't want to minimize that, but it's not the same thing as playing on a professional squad. Do you ever feel like, this may be, arresting my development? That it may not be the best thing for my game. It's fun, it's great, and we're succeeding, but it's not the best thing for my actual improvement.
Yeah. Like I think that's a good point. I think that when I did leave Seattle, it's a different lifestyle, right? Like when I was a junior and senior in high school, like I was doing like online classes, training in the morning with the pros, and then like in the nighttime I'd do like one class. Like you're basically spending 2 years as a pro, and then you go to college and it's a different life. Like school basically comes first in a lot of aspects, right? And so there was a lot of points where I'm like, dang, I wish that I would just be a pro. Like I could just focus on soccer. Like school, yeah, I could do it, but like Georgetown's also a very hard academic school. So I was spending a lot of time like trying to stay like up to date with my work so that I could be able to play soccer, right? But to be fair though, the players at Georgetown, most of them came from like MLS academies and like were really good players. And so the level was still like very high. Like for my last year's team, like there's 4 of us in MLS, 1 playing in Scotland First Division and 2 in USL Championship. So like there was a lot of good players there. I just think the lifestyle is a bit different. And the biggest thing is like in college, it can screw you because you can get distracted by the wrong things. As when you're a pro, you're so focused on just soccer, but in college, there's parties and all this other chaos that can really like hurt you even if you're a good player, right? And I think that's where like my siblings came in and helped me a lot. And like Jared and Audrey, who played D1, and they told me the mistakes they made and like what distracted them. And I think I really like took that into stride and like made sure like that wasn't my downfall and like didn't hurt me and my career. So like I said, like I was pretty much a pro at Georgetown in my mindset and my mentality, and trained all the time, extra work. But it was more just like, you have to do school as well as like when you're a pro, you're just focused on soccer. So that was like the biggest difference. Right. Yeah.
I think you ended up making the right decision. And I think a lot of I don't want to say kids, but younger players are so enamored by the signing a contract.
Yeah.
They just want to be pros.
Mm-hmm.
Like they just want to tell their friends or put in their Instagram bio, professional soccer player. But then little do they know, they could be out the league in a year or two. And it's like, that title ain't so cool anymore.
Yeah.
Or professional soccer player.
So like,
when you don't have a job and you don't know what to do. Yeah, exactly.
So I think even though there was times when you're like, oh damn, like, I could have been potentially getting a first team deal, this or that. Like, you knew that, waiting it out potentially could lead to a sweeter opportunity, which it ended up doing. So let's kind of get to that next phase of getting picked up by Charlotte. What was, I back to my research, I read that you get a call from your agent saying that Charlotte wants you.
Agent, not I can't have an agent in college.
Okay, well, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
How did it all go down?
Yeah. So we just lost in the Final Four to UW, and I'm like bummed as hell. Like, tell the boys, like, hey, like, we're gonna win next year. Like, don't worry. Like, yeah. And so I go home for Christmas break, and I'm like skiing in Montana, and I get like a call from like who, I can't even remember. Oh, somebody I knew from Sounders organization worked in Charlotte. So I won't say like names or anything, but they basically called me and were like, hey, Chris, like the head coach of Charlotte is like so interested in you. Like, he wants to chat with you. Just hear him out. Basically this and that. Come to tuition. Like they basically offered me a homegrown deal. They basically asked me if they bought my rights from Seattle, if I would accept that deal and leave college to come play. And I basically told them like, yes, this was what I would need and it would need to be, and kind of told them like the contract and stuff like that, and made sure, there was some money for school as well, so I could finish my degree.
Let's go.
Yeah, shout out education. And
education. Shout out education.
But yeah, no, it was, honestly, it was a surreal moment. Like it came from nothing, and there's some other things about that too that like I can talk about, but my sophomore season in college wasn't even like, I wouldn't even say it was my best. Like my freshman year was better, and my sophomore season, like half of the year, I was so disappointed with myself. Like I wasn't producing as I should have been. I wasn't scoring as many goals as I wanted, and like I was playing well, but it's like, when you're not getting the stats as like a attacking midfielder, you like start to like become so frustrated. But in my sense, like I never stopped working. I never stopped grinding every day. And like in soccer, you just need one moment, one opportunity, one eyes on you for everything to change. And you just got to keep believing that every day. And that's what I did. And somebody saw the way I played. The coach liked the way I played. And from there, he gave me a homegrown deal here. So yeah.
Yeah. That's
crazy.
Yeah. Crazy. That was January of this year, right?
Yeah. January this year.
Okay. Let's talk about very recently, a few weeks ago, you had the opportunity to play against one of the largest clubs in the world, Chelsea.
Mm-hmm.
And you came in rocking the shirt that I'm wearing right now.
Yes, sir.
You came in, not only did you come in repping Neighborhood Sports Club, which I'm very appreciative of. Seriously, that's, we got some good press from that. And just, we appreciate you supporting us. But you came into a game against Chelsea rocking a shirt with Thierry Henry on it, Arsenal legend. So that's just kind of, a nice little snub right there. But
shout out you winners.
Yes.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about just that experience, like going into that game. What were you thinking? Did you have any idea of if you'd get in the game or not? And then actually stepping on the field, not just playing Chelsea, but playing Chelsea in front of 70,000 people, playing in the game, being on the field against players that I'm sure you were watching on TV while you were in college, and now you're bumping shoulders with them. What was that experience like?
Yeah, I mean, it was crazy. Like, first of all, shout out your shirt. It was fire. I know I looked after the game and so many people were like DMing me asking about the shirt and saying like where I got it and stuff. So keep it Oakland fire.
We got some inquiries, you know.
Okay. Yeah.
Some orders.
Yeah, I was trying to tell him, hey, but if you wash the shirt, you gotta put it inside out. You guys gotta tell everyone. But yeah, no, it was a crazy game. I knew I was gonna play. So I was a bit nervous, like, but to be honest, I don't really get nervous in the big stadiums. I just enjoy it, you know, like
even
I'm very young.
People, people, and you're just like, oh, this is dope.
Yeah, I'm very young, and like you never know if it will happen again too. So you just kind of have to like embrace and enjoy. And that's kind of what I'm learning now is like don't be nervous for games. Just it's another opportunity, and you never know if you'll have the opportunity again. So it's about enjoying yourself and having fun with the moment. And people dream about being in the situation, and I dreamed about it, and it's finally here. So it's just about being in the moment, being present, and I had fun. And to be fair though, like the first game of the season in the MLS, there was 75,000, and I played in that game. So like, I already kind of knew what it was gonna feel like. Yeah.
What was your impression of the level of play of the Chelsea team? Obviously, they're Premier League team, but did you notice like, wow, these guys are a cut above us, or is it just they're just a little better?
Yeah, you could say. Shout out, those guys are ballers, man. Like they're really good. They make it look so easy. Like when you're sitting touchline, like on the field, like Ziyech is pinging a ball and he's not even trying. Like, you know what I mean? Like these guys are like pretty good, but like I wouldn't say the level is like that much higher. You know, like it's just the little things, the technical things. They just make it look so easy. But the level is there. It's definitely higher, but it's not like crazy higher. Like I think if you put an American kid in a system in England and developed him there, like he would do fine. Like you see it with Pulisic, right? Like you see it with all these other guys that go there. Like we can play at that level. It's not like it's crazy, but it's just like, it's about like, just I think being in that speed of play and being in that system. Yeah, exactly. It's just different, you know? So yeah, it was a crazy opportunity. Yeah. I mean, crazy experience. I mean, that was, and playing like, I look up to, I'm an Arsenal fan, but one of the reasons why I wear 19 is because of Mason Mount. I just love the way he plays, and to play versus him and see him in person, it's like, damn, like this is like real cool, and like like it just inspires you even more to like work hard to get to that level, and hopefully one day be able to play in England somewhere. So
yeah. Did you swap jerseys with anyone?
That's I didn't, but I'm getting. They basically ran. It's a complicated story, but they ran like Mount told me he was going to give me his top, and then he didn't have a second one. And then the kit guy told our kit guy when they get back to England they'll send them. Okay. So it's coming, but I'll have a kids. I'll have a kids. But nice. But they like to give it to the fans too, though. There's a lot of fans there, so. But yeah. So. That's man. But it's been a crazy first year. Like I was out for 3 months with a knee injury and all this. So I've experienced, the ups and downs of the pro games fully in the 5-month pro season already. So
yeah, I mean, you're 20 years old, but I feel like you've already had like a multi-year pro career just because of your time in the USL.
Yeah,
training with the first team. So
exactly.
Like you're a rookie, but like I feel like you're not a normal rookie in the typical sense,
Yeah, I would say like that experience at 16, 17 helped me so much, just confidence wise, and, just being in that environment helps you so much. As when you're 22 thrown in it, it's a lot harder, I would say, because you're just not used to it. And like the habits, you learn the habits because the habits take you a long way, I think. And once you see the top players earlier, you can get ideas and it'll help you become better. So
now I mean this could kind of be like the last thing, but how are you kind of navigating this? You're now in an MLS team where the standard is a lot higher, where when you were with Sounders playing with Tacoma, you're in the lineup all the time, and you have a sense of like, oh, I have my role, and I'm going to play X amount of minutes. You kind of know what to expect, where it's a little different now being in a lot bigger squad. You spent some time with Charlotte. I see you're up for player of the month with them. So that's dope. But kind of how are you navigating the competitiveness of the roster and kind of going up and down, but still getting minutes with the first team, and still having ambition to play with the first team. So how are you kind of navigating that experience so far?
Yeah, so it's difficult. Like people don't understand like the ups and downs of pro sports, and how difficult mentally things are. And I think what I've come to realize, there's like a term, control the controllable, right? Like there's so many things out of your control that you can't control, right? Like team selection, who's playing, all these other things. The only thing that you can control is how hard you work, your performances, like that kind of stuff, right? So I kind of look at that and, just every day, just working my tail off, trying to get better. If they want me to play with Independence, I go to Independence to be the best player, try to be the best player there, try to get goals and assists, and do everything I can to get back to the first team. But like I said, like I can't control what the coaches do, what the GMs do, what the other players do. And so you can't get frustrated, you just have to keep working, and they have a path for you and you have to trust it, even though sometimes it might be frustrating when you think you should be playing, or, when you think your performances have been better in training and you're not getting selected. You can't do anything about that, right? So I think for me, the biggest thing I've been learning is just control what you can, and all you can control is hard work and dedication to the game. And so that's what I've been trying to do, and you can't also, another thing I'm learning is like, you can't compare yourself to other players, right? Like everyone has a different journey, and like, you can't look at other success and be like, dang, like, you just have to like stay focused and stay on track on your journey, because everyone's journey is different. And like everyone's highs are going to come at different times, and everyone's lows are going to come at different times. It's like, you have to stay course on your journey, because it's different for everyone. Maybe my journey is playing 15 USL 1 games this year and having 8 goals and 10 assists, and then next year getting chances in the MLS. Like, I don't know, but I just take it day by day and just opportunity by opportunity. So yeah, we'll see.
You're showing a lot of wisdom there.
Spoken like a true vet, man.
That's better stuff.
Let's go.
I've been around a bit, no? Yeah, exactly. But I mean, Max knows better than anyone. Like, this game can be freaking frustrating sometimes, when he knows when you're not playing and you're like, dude, I was the best player in training all week, like it's like that sometimes, but you just never know. And you don't know, the coach maybe is looking for different characteristics for the game or different approach, and it's difficult, but like I said,
bro, you just saying that, like, I feel like just took so many thoughts out of my head of like my experience. I mean, bro, I remember with T2, like literally you'll ball out in training, be the best, one of the best players all training that week, and then they bring down a first team guy. It's and literally like there is like you could be messy that week in training. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter one bit. So like, I think you have the exact correct mindset, and I mean, I think you're not just saying it, but you're doing it. Like, like I just said, you're up for player of the month with Independence. So you're going down and you're proving why you should be given an opportunity in MLS. So
exactly,
you're doing exactly what you need to do.
And also, like, from being in the environment with Tacoma and stuff, and you probably seen it too, like guys on the first team, when they drop and they have like shit performances, it's like, and they're not trying, it's like, dude, what are you doing? Like, this is your chance to prove yourself, like to get back to the first team. Like, I've seen that so many times with my eyes, where guys like go down to the second team and they don't care. They throw their hands up. It's like, I don't want that to be me. Like, I want to go to the second team and be like, people watching the game be like, why is this guy playing here?
Yeah.
So I think I've kind of taken that part to when they do want me to play in the second team games, because we don't have an MLS Next Pro team yet, because like we're an expansion team. It's like our second team is like the Charlotte Independence. Yeah, basically. Yeah. So
but no, I think you're exactly right, and I'm glad that you're taking that approach, because I remember when times when guys would come down from the first team and just absolutely fuck it off, and it's extremely frustrating just as a teammate, but also just thinking about career development. Looking at the guys that came down and actually like gave a fuck, like Asprilla, Eric Williamson, Marvin, like those guys, now you see the success that they're having in MLS. You know, I think there's a correlation. It's not just like coincidence that the guys that came down and balled out are now balling out
in the MLS
level. You know,
exactly. So they just need the opportunity.
Yeah, your time will come. Yeah, that's another thing. A lot of times people don't understand, like, sometimes all it takes is the opportunity. Like, you don't know how many guys are on the bench or not in the 18 that are fucking ballers, but they just don't have the opportunity. Like, there's so many guys that are like unbelievable players, but like they just haven't gotten the minutes.
That's what I'm saying. All it takes is one opportunity, like one chance. And some people don't ever get chances. Like, you know what I mean? Like, some people don't, like, I'll be like, how are they not playing? Or how is this person not playing? But like, one chance and the fans see you, and the next thing they love you and you're playing every week. You know, it just takes one opportunity, but it's pro. Like, it's hard, like, to get into 11. You know, the coaches like to keep it. So we'll see. But for anyone,
the right mindset. And
sure do.
We're confident your time will come. Okay, we won't take any more of your time because you got a game tomorrow. You're on the East Coast,
it's
time
change. 10:50. I mean, it's 9:50. You know,
it's bedtime. It's bedtime.
I'm definitely going to watch the Arsenal all or nothing.
I just started that. I started that last night. 3. Oh, I'm on episode 2.
That inspires me. Like, I watched that doc, and I'm like, Arteta fires me up on my couch, you know, like.
Bro, I'm a little bit like, I feel like he could fire. I'm not as fired up as maybe I thought.
Really?
Maybe it's the language barrier. Like, sometimes the translation, he's not able to like get as much into it, but
maybe maybe
I'm just on episode 1. Maybe episode 2 will really fire me up.
The Tottenham, they play at North London Derby in the episode 2, and it's like pretty, like, I got some chills. I was like, dang, like, Arsenal fan, but yeah, no, I mean, he seems like a very good, like, players manager. Like, he connects well with the players. He's calm, you know?
Yeah, I see that as well.
This is their year. This is a year.
Yeah, I think so. I had a fantasy prem draft, and I got Odegaard and Jesus. So we'll see. We'll see what they can do.
Yeah. Well, we usually do this like ending thing, but it's okay. We could. Okay. We'll just do.
What's the ending segment? Tell me.
What are you eating, reading, preaching, and plugging? We could do it really quick if you want.
Okay, let's do it.
Quick. All right. What are you eating? Is there anything you're chefing up or a Charlotte restaurant you'd like to highlight? Like, what kind of food are you?
I like to chef up. I like to do on a game night, the night before game, white rice, edamame, grilled shrimp with like teriyaki sauce, and avocado, and just some grilled veggies. Keep it healthy. And then shout out my favorite restaurant, Yamazuro's. It's sushi. I actually have a ritual right now. Every match day -2, I get sushi. It's been working lately.
-2.
It's been working lately. It's been working.
So your love of sushi has not diminished as you've aged.
I think I went 3 times this week. I need to chill a little bit. You know, maybe put the money in savings. Yeah.
Yeah. There we go. All right. Reading. Is there anything you're reading? Have you read anything?
I don't read too much, but I've read like the Tim Grover mentality books a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Preaching.
Okay. Is there any like motto, words of wisdom? I mean, you just hit the controllables. Is there anything else? I mean, you spit a lot of bars tonight.
I would just say like the main motto right now is just control the controllables. That's what my mind's on. Maybe I'll develop into something else.
That's solid.
Yeah.
That's solid.
Yeah.
And then last thing, what do you plug in? Is there anything you want to like promote, shout out? You know, maybe this cool brand.
Shout out Neighborhood Sports Club. The shirt's fire. I want another one. I want the new tee, the jersey tee. Maybe I'll post on my Insta if you guys send it to me.
Hey,
maybe not.
Wow. Hey, I'm gonna send you a marathon minute tee and some NSC stuff.
Really?
Yeah, I got you.
All right, I can do a post.
That's what you get. That's what you get for being on the pod, bro.
Hey, people though were like, when I'm telling you, dude, like I've never had like my Insta like DMs like about my clothing. Like people were like, "Where'd you get that shirt? Where'd you get that shirt?" I even seen it on Twitter, like on the Charlotte FC thing, like, "Where's Hegart's shirt from?"
That's what I'm talking about. Let's go.
Wow, that's a great plug.
Appreciate it. Yeah, appreciate you wearing it.
But I did mess up, by the way. I washed it, so it should.
No, it's okay. It turns like vintage. It looks like
it looks more vintage.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's how. Yeah, exactly. All right, Chris. Yeah. Hey, we appreciate you doing this, bro.
Hey,
glad we made it work. And for real, like, bro, your story is extremely inspiring, and I hope you lean into that, because it really can impact a lot of people. And now what you're doing with your career, like, sky's the limit for real. So just keep doing what you're doing. We have a lot of belief in you, and we're behind you. We'll be following and supporting you from afar. So hope we say that the Marathon Minute is a family once we have guests on. You were family before, but now, maybe we'll check in with you down the line and see how you're balling. But again, we appreciate this for real.
Yeah. Thank you guys for having me. That was fun. I appreciate it. I've never done like a podcast like this, like chill vibes. Usually the podcasts are so like stressful, questions. So now this was cool. I appreciate you guys having me on. And
yeah, Chris, very proud of you.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're proud of you.
It's kind of cool when you see a kid who was, a 12-year-old.
A little shit.
Yeah, a little shit. But no, very proud of, and I know it's a product of hard work. I've been around Max and his mates enough to know none of this. You can have all the natural ability in the world, which you've got, but it ultimately comes down to really, perseverance and hard work, and just outperforming folks mentally, physically. So I'm very proud of you. We will be following your career. So
thank you guys.